This is it, the Wes Audio Pandora analog multiband compressor, digitally controlled. Hey, what's up? Welcome back here on the channel. Today we're having a look at the amazing Wes Audio Pandora multiband compressor. It's actually way more than a multiband compressor, and I'm going to show you that in the audio examples. I'm sure that by the time you're watching this, you've already gathered enough information about the unit, but let me just quickly go over it again for you. So we got three bands, low, mid and high. The slopes are 6 dB, so these bands sound super natural. This really helps in maintaining a clear and natural sounding master without the usually in many multiband compressor plugins heard overprocessed sound. This won't give you that. It sounds way clearer and retains a really natural quality over your music. The bands are as well changeable, so you can set the crossovers all the way from 40 Hz to 2K, so that way you control the sub and the bass range, and the high-end crossover goes from 2K to 15K. So super versatile. The buttons feel absolutely amazing. This doesn't feel like a small 500 series at all. It feels like an actual really solid unit. Buttons are not plastic, they are from aluminum, I think. Then we got two sidechain filters. One is to control the low end frequency and one is to control the top end frequency. Now in the bass you perhaps don't want to have crazy pumping, so you can set it to 60, 90 or 150 to get a more precise and desired compression effect in the low end. On the top end, however, you want to target, for example, harshness. So 3, 6 and 9 give you the option to really dial in on the harshness of your mix. And what you hear as well in the audio examples is that you can target the harshness, shave it off with a super fast attack and a fast release, and then open it back up with the output. That way you get a more bright master that's less harsh. So you control the harshness, bring it up, and that way it sounds super clean. Then bypass A, B, so you can switch between settings. I'm not a user of that. I think it's if you have the right gain stage, I just prefer using bypass. And then this extremely powerful knob, it's the dry wet mix. Dry wet gives you the option to blend in the effect, and this is perhaps the best option this unit has, because what you can do with multiband compression is set up a super powerful setting that's really infusing your mix with so much energy, and then you go back to zero and you blend in 20, 30, 40% until it feels right to you. That way you have great control over the effect and you don't lose the natural feel of your mix. And then I already said it a bit earlier as well, this is not only a multiband compressor. You can use it as an EQ, top end, mid band, low band, and it has selectable THD per band. There's 3 options per band: no THD, medium THD, and high THD. And then medium THD gives 1% total harmonic distortion, while high THD gives 2.5%. What sounds really great is, for example, doing medium THD on the low band, high THD on the high band, and medium or no THD on the mids. But it's track dependent. Sometimes you only want to enable it on the mids, for example. It sounds really good. I especially love the top end and the low band. The THD there is just, if this wouldn't have a compressor inside, it would still be a super good unit for the THD and for the EQ power that it has, because it's just really good sounding, and you will hear this in the examples. Then what's super cool as well is you can push and then it solos the band, so you can set it up super precise, or you can push and hold and it just briefly solos it until you release it, and then it goes back to playing everything. So that's the unit. Let's get into the demo part of this video. This is the Wes Audio Pandora. Just note that I didn't do any compression here. I just literally enabled medium THD on the low band and I did high THD on the highs. Then I blended in about 80%, and this is already what it does. It's really incredible to hear this unit being such a good EQ with saturation, even without compression. Yeah, the high band, it's just amazing. It really brings out the transients so well, and yeah, allows for more crisp and detail in the high end, while the low end is just fatter and yeah, really feels more powerful with this setting. Let's continue using the Pandora and let's use a bit of compression as well. what's really cool is that you can really shave and that way shape the high end. This basically works like a de-esser for your master, and that's exactly what Wes Audio had in mind when creating the sidechain filter on the high end. They want to allow you to really hone in on the problem areas. Let's see how the sidechain filter on the high end changes the way the high end compressor reacts. Of course, I'm doing it quite drastically here, but what you really can do with this is control the harsh frequencies while boosting the overall band. That way you are not getting a harsh top end, but you do get a loud and apparent top end. And exactly that is my vision for many processes, is control first and then bring up. So for example, if you control your top end before even going into the analog chain, you will be way more happy with the results you get when boosting, for example, the top end with a expensive analog EQ, rather than using that amazing EQ to, reduce the top end. Same for stereo imaging. Sometimes an element in a mix is way too wide. What I actually do in the mix is narrow the element and then bring back the width during mastering with, for example, the SPL Gemini. That way the result is a way wider master, but actually in the process of creating that, an element has been brought down in width. Let's continue with the next track and focus a little bit more on the compressor settings.
Can you hear that?
What I try on the low end is to create a very slow and steady low end. Why? That's because I want to have like no dynamics in the low end, because I'm going to use the mix knob to set it up right. So I'm gonna create a super heavy setting in this example and then blend in enough to basically use the Pandora as like a turbo for the mix that really like puts it on steroids.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
So I basically have this, so the original.
Do you hear that?
Then I have this, the extreme setting.
Do you hear that?
And then what I do is I go back to 0 and just blend in enough so we're complementing the sound rather than over processing it.
Do you hear that?
This, in my opinion, is where the Pandora really shines. I mean, name one analog unit that can do multiband compression, saturation, EQ in parallel. And it's digitally controlled. I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's such a good unit. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And it sounds so open and really has that analog quality to it. It's really impressive, really. Now we're gonna go to the last example. I'm gonna switch back to default mode, and what I'm gonna do is try a little bit to change the bands, and that way get an even more precise control over the track. By the way, if I solo the bands, listen to how natural it sounds. The reason for that is that Wes Audio used 6 dB per octave slopes. So these filters in between the bands are very gentle. The positive thing about that is that you retain a natural feel in the sound. The negative thing is that you cannot be extremely precise. But do you want to be extremely precise with an analog master bus multiband compressor? In my opinion, they did exactly what they needed to do. And for super specific problems, yeah, it's better to use, for example, Soothe in the box. But here, and that's often the problem with multiband compression, if you allow a multiband compressor with super steep slopes and like 5 bands, oftentimes it starts to sound super unnatural. And the Wes Pandora just keeps an open and really natural high quality sound, and that's partly due to the 6 dB slopes. Let's continue and set up the multiband compression here, and we're going to use everything this unit has to offer. So from custom crossovers to parallel to THD to the sidechain filters, the EQ, let's set it up. So that's it, the Wes Audio Pandora. What a fantastic unit this is. It's sounding really good. And yeah, I didn't expect anything less from Wes Audio. I love their NG bus compressor. It's such a powerful unit. And even in the 500 series realm, they deliver, in my ears, the same level of audio quality. It's really impressive, and especially at that price point and being digitally controlled, yeah, makes this such a good purchase if you're mixing or mastering. Is there anything I would change on the unit? Not really, except that I'm personally more a fan of full rack units. It would be a bit bigger, so easier to control. I love touching the Wes Audio NG bus myself instead of using the plugin. But yeah, oftentimes I of course only use the plugin because it's just so fast, easy, and yeah, it's super precise. So yeah, you can actually see what you're doing with numbers, and yeah, that's just really convenient with digitally controlled hardware. I had a great time demoing and reviewing this unit for you. There's more reviews and sound demos of new units coming up here, so definitely hit subscribe if you didn't already. Let me know in the comments which function of the Wes Pandora you like most, and if you consider it for your own setup, or if you have any questions on the unit.